All right. So principle number 2 is reciprocity. So reciprocity is building up so that, for example, I give you something, you then feel like you have to give me back. So I will tell you a story from my own experience, which was I had a financial advisor when I worked at a Fortune 500 company where I started. I had a financial advisor friend a couple doors down the hall from me, and we would, go to lunch once or twice a week. And when I first read Influence, I decided to do a little experiment on. He was my own little one-person psychological study, and I said, you know what? I'm going to pay for lunch. So the first day I was like, lunch is on me today, and he's like, oh, that's really nice of you. And then the second time I was like, now I got it again. And then like the third or fourth time, he couldn't take it anymore. He was really like, you have to let me pay, and it has to be a really nice place because you paid for the last 3, and that adds up, and it's not fair, and it's my turn. Like he literally couldn't stand the scales being out of balance. So in in one of the latest studies in the Cialdini book, one of the new studies, they had a waitress who, when they brought you your check, they put a little chocolate truffle on it. Well, when she came back and offered them, before they had put their credit card in, when she came back and offered them a second chocolate truffle, how much do you think her tips went up? Give me a guess in the chat box. All she did was add one more truffle with a separate trip to the table. She didn't do 2 truffles on the check. It was 1 truffle on the check, and then she came back with another truffle. 60%, 25%. 20%, 42%. Tony, I love this specificity of it. Emma says 40%. The winning answer is 21.3%. So yes, similar to the Olive Garden study with the mints. Yes. So 21.3%. So the person with 20 was the closest. Now online, this is something very interesting. They did a survey. It was for a new restaurant. Now, some of the people, they were driven there by ads, take a survey about a new restaurant, come into your area. Some of them were asked for their advice. Hey, can you give us our advice about X? The other people, it was split. The other people were asked for their opinion about X. Do you think it makes a difference whether they were asked for their advice or their opinion? What difference do you think it makes? Give me an answer in the chat box. You have to answer. Advice was more, says Courtney. Garrett says opinion was more. Opinion higher, says Howard. All right, Mudsey says advice. It looks like we're split down the middle. Those asked for advice got a greater percentage of the people who asked for advice said they would try the new restaurant, and a much greater percentage actually showed up and patronized the new restaurant. Advice was the winner. So ask people for their advice about something. They did this with a fire alarm company, and they offered a free home fire safety inspection. And then they would check your house for fire hazards and then sell you a fire alarm system. Now they did something very, very interesting that dramatically improved the results. They gave away a free fire extinguisher. It was, hey, get a free fire extinguisher with your home fire safety inspection. Dramatically increased the number of people who bought alarm systems because there was a reciprocity of, here's your free fire extinguisher. That's reciprocity. The next principle is social proof. Social proof. For example, they did a study with a restaurant, and they took one item on the menu that was not selling. Nobody was buying it. The chef was like, why are we keeping this on the menu? And they did an experiment. They labeled that dish. They put a little sticker next to that dish, a little graphic, and said most popular. They didn't change the dish at all. They didn't change anything else on the menu. They just labeled the dish that no one ever bought, most popular. How much do you think sales went up on the newly labeled most popular dish that was not selling at all? Bruce says 50%. Noah says 85%. Ron says 30%. Sean says 30. Scott says 23. Let's see what the answer is. 20%. They didn't do any marketing. They didn't promote the dish at all. They didn't talk about it. The waiters didn't recommend it. They just put most popular. So, for example,
can I chime in for 1 second here? I mean,
sure.
People want to be part of the popular crowd. I would have thought it would have gone up more.
Correct. So online, if you sell something online, what we have found, and there's data to back it up in this book and a number of others, that give people, if they're selling online, 3 choices: silver, gold, platinum, good, better, best. And if you take the middle option and label it most popular, more people will buy it. The whole goal of having the top tier option is not because you're going to sell it. It's because psychologically, it makes the second one seem more appealing. Because if it's $500, $1,000, and $1,500, I'm making up prices. The $1,500 one, they say, oh, that's too much money. But now it's a choice between 500 and 1,000, and nobody wants to take the lowest option. So they're psychologically driven to the middle, which is the one you wanted to sell in the first place. Now, when told a majority of their classmates were eating fruit to be healthy, they did a split test and they said, hey kids, your classmates are eating fruit to be healthy versus, hey, you should eat fruit to be healthy. What's the difference in terms of the percentage of kids who then actually eat fruit? Well, I love the guesses. Let's keep guessing. Although Bruce is now going to guess like 20% every time. All right, Sean says 25%. Mudzy says 40. Klaus says 35. Scott says 40. Emma says 35. 35% of increases of fruit purchases in the cafeteria because their friends were eating it. Not because of the nutritional benefits, but because everybody else was doing it. In a recent Ohio election, the candidate who had no chance of winning won the state attorney general race. He literally was in last place, nowhere close to the front runners. Guess what he did to end up winning the election? He legally changed his last name to Brown. He didn't change his platform, his messaging, his speaking ability, his public appearances at all. He just he legally changed his last name to Brown. And everybody voted for him. I'm not suggesting you legally change your name, but we're going to put you back in your breakouts